Hi, thank you for joining this segment. In this program, we're going to talk about how financial services companies drive greater value from their data. My name is Mojgan Ahmadi. I'm a principal solutions architect with AWS Global Financial Services. An organization that harnesses their data as an asset can drive innovation and create actionable insights to supercharge their customers' experience. Data needs to be aggregated at speed and scale to reach your business goals. The business goals that we see across industry are anywhere from compliance and regulatory reporting. We notice that with increase in regulatory reporting requirements, there is a need to do more reporting in order to get more enhanced transparency on market data. An example of that can be a consolidated audit trail, which is a US-based regulatory requirement, and it will build the largest data repository in the world. In order to do that, on all the financial institutions, they have to collect, store, process, and consume the data at an accelerated speed and with an agile fashion. The next one is business analytics. We will notice that majority of the companies, they need to start looking at their customers not only through traditional transactional data, but also with alternative data. All the customers' footprint in terms of their phone calls, emails, web services, in order to create a cohesive customer information where they can drive market values and anomalies. Some example of that is payment fraud and identity verification. On the customer experience, the need to aggregate and integrate your traditional customer data with alternative data such as websites, emails, phone calls will allow you to drive more focused products and also create more focused experience and personalized experience for your customer, and provide those to your customer via their choice of communication channel. When we come to market surveillance and trading, we notice that a lot of hedge funds and trading firms, they are using alternative data to create advanced investment strategies. Some of those examples are satellite images or social network. For example, satellite image of a farm can play a big role in terms of predicting the outcome of and sales patterns of that farm. Or we see that some of the firms, for example, use this satellite images of some of the department stores like Macy's to figure out how many cars are being parked in their parking lot, and as a result to be able to predict the sales and adjust their investment strategy. All these examples that I give you will require for our customers to be able to aggregate data at a speed and scale it to reach these business goals. But managing data is challenging. We all know that. What is the reasons? Well, diverse data sources, and none of them integrate. The tracking data usage has become more challenging than before. As we said, some of the aggregations fall under regulatory and compliance, and there should be full visibility into how to track the data and see the usage of the data across your organization. Demand for new source of data has becoming more and more as the time goes by, and storing the volume and velocity of this data has become cost prohibitive. The last one is the whole networking and connectivity in order to drive this collection and consumption and process. That has become very, very complex. So AWS simplifies your data access, management, and analytics. At the rest of this presentation, I'm going to go more toward some of these patterns. AWS basically helps your institution to acquire and manage your data in a more cost-efficient way. Consumption and analytic can be expedited. It will allow you to have frictionless ingestion and seamless integration. And also you can gain insight through advanced analytics and machine learning. All that can result in an accelerated innovation across your organization. We have a lot of industry-leading financial institutions that they are driving greater value from their data on AWS to provide some. There are NASDAQ, Dow Jones, Moody's, to just name some of them. And they are already driving those greater values from their data. So let's take a look at analytics on AWS. I'm going to give you a very high-level view of the analytics ecosystem on AWS. The main component of the ecosystem is S3. S3 sits in the middle of your modern data engineering ecosystem. It's the single place where you can save all your data. And that is called Data Lake on AWS. If you look at the left side, it explains all the different kind of data that you have to take into consideration when you define your modern data strategy on the cloud. Structured, these are traditional data, unstructured, and semi-structured. AWS provides you with infinite storage to save any kind of data on that storage. Once you have your storage, the data lake, the main component of data lake, and you are covered by any kind of data that you need to bring to the data lake, you can concentrate on your ingestion services. We provide you with different services that can be used for different purposes, from batch to online. If you like to move your data on a batch pattern, you can use AWS Glue, which is a serverless ETL tool, or you can use Amazon Elastic MapReduce, which provides you with big data execution engines such as Hive, Spark, and many more. For your streaming purposes, you can use Amazon Kinesis, or you can use, if you use Kafka on-prem, you can use Amazon's managed streaming Kafka service. Also, AWS Glue has built-in streaming capabilities. AWS Data Exchange can be used to move large volumes of data from on-prem to AWS, and also you can use AWS DMS, data management services, data migration services to move some of your data that is sitting on traditional RDBMS and bring it to the data lake. On the right side, if you notice, I have split the analytics in two ends. The first end is the analytics that usually be used by your data analysts, different data engineering, and different consumers. As you can see, the first one is data warehousing, which is the Redshift. Our data warehousing tool integrates directly to our data lake. We believe that data lakes and data warehousing, they complement each other. You can never say that I have a data lake, so I do not need data warehouse, or vice versa. The both are needed in your data engineering ecosystem. The benefits of using Redshift is that it integrates directly to S3. So some of the data movements, for example, you might have a risk reporting being done on Redshift, and that risk report might require some near real-time data. That Redshift can directly extract that data out of S3. If you have a business user that is more familiar with ad hoc queries, they can use Amazon Athena, which is a serverless service which allows them to directly access the data. Amazon Elastic MapReduce, Amazon Elasticsearch will allow you to do all the extra engineering, data engineering, and search capabilities. And with Amazon QuickSight, you can cover your dashboardings and data visualization. As you can see, by decoupling your data from your execution engine, you can save your data once, but run many times, many execution engines against it. It would empower your business community to pick the right tool for the right job. On the bottom part, I'm covering all the machine learning capabilities. The machine learning capabilities can run against the same data sitting on the S3. And it covers anyone from machine learning data scientists with PhD to developers that might want to just have some AI services being embedded in their application. So if we look at essential elements of analytics solutions and your future modern data strategy, you have to think about AWS Data Lake, which is basically your storage sitting on S3. And then around it, you have to think about machine learning capabilities, analytics, how to move from on-prem data movements, and how to do real-time data movements to your data lake. So from data movements point of view, we will give you two sets of services. In order to move your on-prem data to AWS, you can use AWS Direct Connect, which will provide you with a dedicated network line, which accelerates and expedites and gives you the performance boost that you need in order to bring your data and move it, migrate it from on-prem to data warehouse. To AWS S3. AWS Storage Gateway provides you with capability to run your applications on-prem, but save your data on AWS. And AWS Snowball and Snowmobiles are appliance services that will allow you to migrate massive size of the data. On the real-time movements, again, as I said, you can use different versions of Amazon Kinesis, and AWS IoT Core will allow you to stream those additional data to AWS. So let's take a look at the data lake itself. When your data sits on the data lake, as I mentioned, the best benefit is your execution is decoupled. That empowers your consumers and your producers. They can pick the right tool for their job to bring their data on AWS. But once you are on AWS, once you are on S3, we will give you options to have different tiers for your data. We realize that not all data is being used and consumed in a frequent basis. So by having different tiers that can match the frequency of your data usage and consumption, you can pick the right tier for your job and have the best cost model for that data. We also, for any kind of historical data and archiving data, you can use Amazon S3 Glacier. Glacier allows you to store historical data with financial institutions. We know that sometimes you have to store and save 7 to 10 years of data. So with Amazon Glacier, you would be able to perform that on a very cost-efficient way. And you have access to your data as soon as you need it. Amazon AWS Glue and AWS Lake Formation will provide the governance needs and data management needs that you have to apply to that data. Anything from data cataloging to extended functionality on the governance side that AWS Lake Formation provides to you, which if I want to say some examples is row and column level access to the data that you save on S3. So data lakes are the future of data management. They are centralized repository. It allows you to save any types of data you need. Also, their use cases are very broad. They can be from machine learning to real-time streaming to advanced analytics, business intelligence, and data discoveries. Also, access to your historical data can be accomplished within seconds while managing your infrastructure cost. So, how do you do perform analytics? Let's touch base on that. Well, you can pick the right tool. Again, that goes back who your consumers are. You might have a financial reporting business user, which they have their main data sitting on a data warehouse, which has passed all the data quality and governance purposes. But they need some alternative data that sits on data lake. They can use, and they are very familiar with data warehousing. They can continue to use Amazon Redshift. Or you can have a data engineering that would like to do some ETL using a Spark. They can use Amazon Elastic MapReduce. At the other end, you might have a business user that is very familiar with SQL, and they just want to have ad hoc queries and agile insight to the files that comes to S3 as soon as they are stored. They can use Amazon Athena, which is a serverless ad hoc query service. And on the streaming side, we talk about it. You can stream anything, any data to the S3 by using Kinesis. Amazon Kinesis and Amazon Elasticsearch gives you the extended search capabilities. If you would like to do data visualization and dashboarding, you have access to Amazon QuickSight. One point that I like to mention is with some of our serverless technologies, you really pay for what you use. So as soon as your users, your consumers are done with their queries, the pay for the execution engine stops. The same thing with Amazon Elastic MapReduce. A data engineer might want to run some ETL jobs and conform some of this data. There is no need to pay for that execution engine beyond the time that engineer has done their job. As soon as the job finishes, you can deprovision Amazon EMR, shut it down, and stop paying for execution engine. That is the promise of decoupling your data from your analytics and ingestion execution engines. So, what does that agile analytics looks like with Amazon Athena? Well, you have data coming from your source systems. You can put them on S3. As soon as they sit on S3, let's say somebody sends a CSV file or a pipe delimited file. As soon as they are on S3, your business user can spin up and can log into Amazon Athena and then run their ad hoc query immediately in an agile basis. No more ETL. No, everything is serverless. And as soon as they are done, the paying for that process stops on the Athena side. And also you will give them the agile and fast time to value that they always require and ask for. Machine learning. When you come to machine learning, again, I said you save the data once, you can use it for different purposes. Some of those historical data that you bring actually can be the training data for your data scientists. And on the machine learning, since they can get access to the same data repository, they can choose to run different machine learning algorithms. The ecosystem of machine learning is very broad. It allows a data scientist with PhD that understand machine learning frameworks to have access to those capabilities on AWS and build their own machine learning library and model versus developers that might want to use some of our AI offerings to embed some of the machine learning practices within their application. All is needed on AWS. We like to put machine learning on hands of any kind of consumer, regardless of their background and experience level. One of the main services that can allow you to drive that is Amazon SageMaker. Its integrated development environment allows you to prepare, do feature engineering, build your models, train and tune your models, and very easily deploy and manage them in production. Intuit actually used Amazon SageMaker to pull years of bank transaction in order to find deductible balances for their business consumers, deductible balances that can be used as expenses. This was built on Amazon SageMaker, and it did reduce their time to build these models by 90%. From 6 months, they could develop their models, decrease it from 6 months to 1 week, all by using SageMaker. Broadridge is another $4 billion global fintech, and they use Amazon Sage, and they use AWS ML products to be able to eliminate some of their manual processes, which requires for them to extract big volume of data points out of PDF and image documents. I want to show you their process. In this process, they bring a lot of input data in, which is usually in PDF, or they can be in image, and they put that in a S3, and then from the S3, they use Amazon TextRack to transform those documents to text, and they use Amazon Comprehend to extract NLP type output out of that. It can be sentiment analysis, it can be entity recognition, and then the result is being packaged and being sent to Amazon SageMaker to predict shareholder meetings and provide that to their end users. At this point, I like to take you through one example and one architecture patterns for NLP. If we look at NLP, natural language processing, which is one of the biggest concerns of financial institutions, logically it means that you have to bring some data in, and these data can be either a structure, if we are lucky, text, XML, JSON, or they can be unstructured, which are majority of time they are in unstructured, they are PDF or image. You can run an optical character recognition model against them and turn them to a structure. So all the PDF and image will turn to text, XML, and JSON. After that is done, you can send them to a natural language processing module that will drive insight out of your document, and the result can be sent to an analytics module, which can expose the result to your end users. Let's take a look at that architecture on AWS. So if this is the pipeline for that NLP, what's in there? So the first one is ingestion. Ingestion means that creating a document, enterprise-wide document data lake on AWS. That's all it does. That data lake is being built on S3. What ingestion does is to catalog the document, make sure duplicate documents haven't been ingested, make sure that wrong documents haven't been fed. Once everything is checks and balance, it puts them in proper buckets, and it will invoke the next module, which is OCR module. In this module, the documents, either PDF or image, are being translated to character and text by use of Amazon TextRack. When that part is done, that part invokes the next step, which is the NLP module. And by using Comprehend, you can drive a lot of insight out of that document, and the result can go to analytics module, which in this case can be another bucket within the document data lake to keep the JSON format of that document. Also send the feed to Elasticsearch, Amazon Elasticsearch, for people to be able to drive advanced searches against it, and also move it to Neptune, Amazon Neptune, in order to understand relationships. Meanwhile, you can create metadata services which would track and trace the lineage end to end throughout your pipeline, plus cataloging the documents and creating an ownership. Basically, capture all the governance components and data management components of this pipeline. So metadata services basically is being designed here on an event-based decoupled architecture where all the information is captured within a DynamoDB table to be used as needed. Each module is being architected on an event-based decoupled basis. This will allow you for your customers to have a comprehensive governed pipeline while allowing your business user to decide about the actual models they want to run against that data, or based on the tool they want to run against that data, because the event-driven decoupled architecture allows for you to pull out any component, like for example, Comprehend, pull that out and plug in SageMaker with your own model, or many more that they would like to use. That autonomy and decision-making gotta be given to business users to be able to empower them to pick the right tool. But the whole pipeline is being done in an architecture based on an event-driven architecture to keep a coherent feel and a coherent governance across the pipeline. Metadata services is being used in all the modules to track and register all the movements. As you notice, I have designed this architecture to be running purely on serverless. So all of the compute modules that you see here are serverless. What that means is you pay for them when you use them. If your traffic goes up, your serverless goes up, and you will take care of your traffic. When it goes down, you do not pay for the lower compute capacity. At the end, your business users have full access to that document. The original document, PDF, the JSON format of that document. They can go to Elasticsearch to do search specific on that document, or they can go to Amazon Neptune to see relationship of that document to other documents, or relationship of attributes within that document to the other documents' attributes. Also, your data office, your operation, and cloud ops, or any of your auditors can access metadata services and to get full transparency into lineage, SLA, ownership, notification, and catalog of those documents. This is a very simple but event-driven architecture that you can achieve by using AWS's data engineering ecosystem and also machine learning. So, Gartner, by 2022, public cloud services will be essential for 90% of the data and analytics innovation. And that's what we are seeing is happening, and more acceleration is happening on the data stage. Thank you very much for attending this session. Please feel free to reach out to your AWS account representative if you would like to have deep dive on any section of this presentation. This was a very high level look to our services and how we see analytics can be accelerated across financial institutions. But if you like to have deep dive, please reach out to your AWS representative, and we make sure that we will have your focused meeting being set up for you. I also like to please ask you to complete the session survey. It's very helpful for us to understand that if the content is matches your expectation. With that, I'd like to thank you. This is Mojgan Ahmadi, and enjoy the rest of your day.